between the different houses, I guess, if you want to call it that, is what they emphasize in their practice. So the Sakyas, for example, are much more poetic. Like they don't do a lot of, from what I understand, it's not quite so book learned as this particular. We like our books, we like our lists. It's a very logic based segment of all of it. And then there's the kagyus that are much more ritual based. So the more typical, if you were to walk into like a picture perfect Tibetan monastery with the multicolored walls and the really deep chanting and the beautiful sort of opulent altars and all of that.
What do you
like
call those?
Rituals. Just
the house?
Kagyu. The school, is very, very steeped in that. They all have that to a degree, but some are more focused on one aspect than another. And this particular lineage is really much more focused on what your mind is doing, not necessarily what you look like when you're doing it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because if you're very good at the ritual with the proper intent, it will get you to the same place. But so with this particular school, we work simultaneously on two things. We work on our mind and we work on our heart, and both of them live right here, actually. And what we're trying to always balance out is our highest compassion with our highest understanding of truth. So our highest love combined with our highest wisdom. And we're always trying to perfect both of them equally. And, sometimes they call it method and wisdom. Method is the kindness part, the compassion part, and wisdom is this understanding of emptiness. It's a concept that is really fundamental to everything that we do. How you doing, Zoe? Okay, so so this particular class, Wednesday nights are meditation nights. Tuesday nights are philosophy nights. So. But this particular class that I'm teaching, called Book Jinpa, it's Tibetan for lighting a fire under your meditation practice, is really a little bit of both. But tonight's class, which is the second in the third series, this is Book Jinpa 3. Book Jinpa 1 was all about that foundation of compassion, of really recognizing the suffering in yourself and others in this world as we know it. We call it samsara in Buddhist technology. It's the vocabulary. It's the realm of suffering. And the most basics being that everything changes. Like, we can't hold on to anything, really, because it's constantly changing. There's moment-to-moment suffering. There's all-pervasive suffering. There's the not knowing what comes next. And no matter how we differ in our ideology or our nationality or our education or our culture, everyone is absolutely equal in not wanting to be unhappy and wanting to be happy, right? Now, how we each might define what makes us happy or unhappy might be different, but the fact that we want to be happy and the fact that we don't want to be unhappy is universal. So the first book, Jinpa Series 1, is all about that, finding that common ground for compassion, for opening up your heart. Book Jinpa 2 was all about really unpacking that other wing, that whole emptiness, wisdom, the nature of the mind, the what is the way that we need to look at our world that is really going to work for us. And that whole concept is emptiness. That's the whole wisdom side of things, and that was starting to be delved into at the meditative level in Book Jinpa 2. We're now in Book Jinpa 3, so I'm giving you the fast and furious catch-up, because Book Jinpa 3, this whole course, which is actually 7 classes long, and we're in class 2 right now, is all about doubt, overcoming doubt, because that is the thing that will stop us from progressing in anything. And it's interesting because the way we define doubt in this class is not just about skepticism or not believing something. It's very specifically about a misunderstanding we all have. We all really think that the world is external to us, that things are fixed out there, and that they don't actually come from us. But this whole understanding of emptiness, which is what we were starting to unpack in book Jinpa 2, is to really wrap your head around this concept that the world comes from you and not at you. And that if you were to really go to the authoritative Buddhist teachings on this, we say that with every thought, word, and deed that we do ourselves, we plant a seed. It's either good, bad, or otherwise, depending on whether that thought, word, or deed was good, bad, or otherwise. And then time passes and it ripens as an experience in your world that is good, bad, or otherwise. If you planted a good seed, it will ripen as a good experience for you. If it was a bad seed, it will ripen as a bad experience for you. And neutral. And so it's not whether something you did was right or wrong. It's about whether it will bring a good result to you or not. Mm-hmm. And so when we understand that, it's easy to say, really hard to do, because if we truly understood that, then we would never have what we call a mental affliction, a disturbance of our mind. We would never ever be overly anxious or upset or depressed or frustrated or giddy or loopy, because those are just as extreme as the other, right? We would never have any of that. Doesn't mean you're going to be a flatline, Dharma zombie, that's not it either. But you would never be, they call it unshakable. You would never be shaken from your center of...
We're talking about balance, really?
We are talking about balance, but not even a balance between good and bad or happy and sad. I'm talking about a level of consistent contentment and consistent altruism, where you can open your heart so wide because you're in love with everything and everybody, right? And to be able to get to a level of being like that is absolutely sustainable.
It's funny because that was my, I'm doing a guided meditation with Deepak Chopra right now. I purchased these sets of guided meditations because I really like it. And it's, today's message was love everything and everybody.
There you go.
So, there you go.
And the teachings, we say the teachings come to us the teachings that we need come to us in all sorts of amazing ways if you've got the heart open and the ears to hear it. Yeah. Okay, good. So you've had various flavors of meditation. So this one, we're steeped in an ancient book called Bhavana Krama, that's Sanskrit, and it's about stages of meditation by an ancient sage, Master Kamalashila. Lived a couple thousand years ago, actually. And we're referring to his book when we're talking about these different things. And this whole course, as I say, is about overcoming our doubt. Oh, and I didn't get to the punchline. So I said what we're trying to do is see that the world comes from us and not at us, right? The doubt is that we doubt that it is that way. We don't believe that the world comes from us, actually, even though intellectually we're all nodding our heads and going, yeah, I get that. We don't act as if we get it, because if someone yells at us, we want to yell back, or at least if we know better than to yell back, we still feel internally this ire comes up, right? And if we truly understood that person could not have yelled at us if they were not just delivering back our karma to us, and actually they had to yell to do that, so they've just planted a seed of being yelled at in the future, right? So if we understood that perfectly, we would actually be thanking them for ripening our karma, and we would have compassion for them in hopes that they wouldn't have planted a bad karma on their own, right? But we don't have that perfect vision in the moment most of the time. So we do things like our meditation practice. We do things like our karma practice, where we try and be as kind to others physically as possible in thought, word, and deed. And then all of it just is seed planting, gardening for a happier tomorrow, Okay, so we're going to look that doubt in the face. That doubt that we doubt that things are actually pure potential. We doubt that things actually come from us. Because it sure doesn't feel like it when somebody's yelling at us. It's like, I didn't want that. I didn't mean to plant that. When did I plant that? It's really, really hard. So we try and still our mind enough to be able to really see that clearly. And we're trying to open up our hearts enough that we plant the virtue to get there. And do you want to check who that is? Because I was about to start a meditation, so it would be good if they came up, because they're in time. This particular class, usually with these book jinpa classes, we have about 2 meditations, one at the beginning, one towards the end, and then I usually explain a lot of the things that we are trying to delve into. Yay! You're just in time, Sean. I was about to start the first meditation, and I was explaining to Todd and Judith that this class normally has 2 meditations. Today I think we have 5. So we're going to start rocking it. Now, you are welcome to stay seated on the ground. You can also sit in a chair. You can also lay right down, depending on what you need to do to be able to stay perfectly still. Okay? This first one, though, is just a preliminary meditation. This is Sean, everybody.
Oh.
So we'll this is just kind of a warm-up, okay? Just to get our energy in the right place. So just get comfortable. Try and make sure your back is straight, though. So don't be leaning back, okay? So you can lean back when we're back to the blah blah part, but for the meditation part, try and sit as straight as possible. Todd, do you need some blocks under your knees? Would it help?
Maybe.
Yeah. Just so that you're not holding your body. Let everything relax.
Yeah, these are doing
Maybe the blue ones. Yeah, the purple ones.
purples.
Yeah. Well,
Purple is that good coloring.
sometimes bolsters are good too if you just want to add a little bit of cushioning.
I'm going to bring you both heights because I don't really know.
You know what? With
So where am I putting these?
No,
just
guys,
under your knees, like
kind of
just
under the.
just so that when you were sitting cross-legged,
Yeah.
just so that the elbow part of your knees, like the bent part, is just
Oh,
resting.
these ones are a little small.
But
like that.
here, can I?
Yeah, you can show me.
So
You're okay. You're
take them away for now,
Yeah.
and then
So-
sit comfortably, normally.
I'm Zoe, by the
Okay,
way.
so yeah,
I'm
so
Zoe.
what it
Zoe,
would be
nice to
is
meet you.
just so that
Judith.
it's
Nice.
resting,
Come
okay.
to get a chance to.
so that it's just resting, not obtrusive, but just so that you're
Yeah.
not. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So just so that you're not holding the tension.
Good. Thank you.
And it is good. This is the class to test that, to test the different seats, the different cushions, the different chairs. Because what is important about meditation is that you be comfortable and theoretically able to sit for like up to an hour without moving. So you want to find the right seat. And it's a good class to test out even whether you want to be on a buckwheat cushion versus a foamy cushion, or whether you need more height or less height, or okay. So just get settled. Straight spine. Arms and legs where you don't have to worry about them. Then just settle the breath. Eyes closed, chin level. Focus your mind at the tip of your nostrils where the air is exiting and entering. Just observe the breath as it goes out and in. That's the object, your breath. Watch your mind as it struggles to keep itself on the object. Watch what kind of doubts pull your mind away. Go over in your mind the reason why you're sitting here, trying to meditate. You see, we have to reach a state of stillness in order to see emptiness directly. And we must see emptiness directly in order to help anyone at all, including ourselves. Now is the time we have to clamp down on our restless mind and focus on the object. So go back to observing your breath. Let's review our intention. We could die tomorrow and find ourselves in a totally different place where we have no opportunity to practice. What if this was our very last chance to meditate? So focus your mind on the breath. Just park your mind at the end of your nostrils and watch the air go out and in. Don't control it, just watch. Maybe you're wondering when this meditation is going to end. Bring your mind back to the breath. Okay. When you're ready, you can let go of that and just come back into the room and open your eyes. Nice effort, everyone. How did that feel?
Good.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. You guys did well. That was just the warm-up. Nice. So when we're watching our breath, that's a way to bring the mind in. So often, if you've had a particularly stimulus-filled day, or you've had to deal with a lot of clients, or you've had a lot of things pulling you, sometimes when you sit, your mind might just be going over all of that. So even though you're watching your breath, it pulls off to, oh, but he said, she said, or what's for supper, or, and so then you just bring the mind, just keep bringing it back. It's like training a puppy. But the beautiful thing, because all of you were really good about just dropping into stillness, is to then just really, sometimes focusing on the breath can seem not so interesting. So it's the challenge then is to actually focus on the breath. And just, when I say watch it go out and in, your eyes are closed. So you're not like physically cross-eyed and trying to watch your breath, but it's just a different level of seeing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. So you do have to get to this passion for wanting to get to that state of stillness. And there is a type of, it's interesting to use the words like passion and fervor when it comes to stillness, because it really feels like you're just trying to be still, and those words sound like so the opposite of that, but it's not. It's that type of fascination that you have with your mind for whatever you're focusing on. That's what we're getting to. And you guys are all off to a really great start. Oh, and this, I don't know if you caught, I know these two have been in these classes before, but in that meditation I was saying that we really need to see emptiness directly. Did you catch that? Mm-hmm. So what that means is that, and this is something that will happen to everyone, at a certain point when your meditative ability is stable enough and you've opened your heart so much that you don't even have to think about it, there will come a time when you will have this, what they call the direct perception of emptiness. It's a transformational experience that you have when you're sitting on your meditation cushion. It's a completely non-conceptual state. So you're not having a discussion with someone. You're not even thinking, oh my goodness, I'm seeing emptiness directly, because you're having then discursive conceptual thought, right? When you're actually in that moment, you won't be doing that. But you will have such practiced ease in your body and such stillness in your mind and such clear laser-like focus with your awareness that your seeds will just flop you over into what they say, seeing emptiness directly. And what it is conceiving of ultimate reality directly. And they say it's a non-conceptual state, and it doesn't, they say it lasts about 15-20 minutes. You don't know you're in it while you're in it until you come out. But when you come out, you are forever changed. And you are completely on your way out of this suffering world as you know it. Doesn't mean you physically have to go anywhere. It just means that everything in you shifts, and you are able to then progress really quickly through your spiritual practice and your ability to clear up all your negative seeds and only collect the good ones, and that catapults you to what we call enlightenment, where you can be the ultimate helper to yourself and to everyone else. So the only way we can actually help anyone else, quite frankly, is to become that being, to be able to reach that state of that is reached by seeing emptiness directly. And so that's what we're training for. That's what any meditation is actually training you for. And if any of you do yoga, that's what yoga is for, to be able to train your body so that you can sit, so that you can get to the state. So This course, though, right, is about doubt. So this is an interesting thing. Anytime our mind wanders off of the object that we want it to be on, that is actually an expression of our doubt. Because our mind doesn't believe that holding that focus is going to serve us in any way. Something else is more interesting, like what's on TV, or who's going to call, or right? Like there's something else more important than what you're doing right now. So that's the type of doubt and distraction that we're trying to overcome. Okay? So oh, by the way, in these courses, if you were doing it for more than just a drop-in, they are more like the philosophy classes that are taught on Tuesdays. Usually on Wednesday classes, there's no homeworks, there's no quizzes, and there's no finals. And don't worry, there doesn't have to be. But if people want to, if you would like to complete the philosophy component of it, which is really not for me, it's for you. If you want to, we've got the resources. There are those components that you are more than welcome to have. Zoe has the files, so if you are interested, you can give her email and she can send them all to you. It's all free, it's just all online. But the readings are the exquisite English translations of that original Sanskrit text. The English translations are by Geshe Michael Roach, and the English is lovely. It's like reading poetry. And it explains a lot of these things in the context of ancient texts. And really, this particular class is all about not only trying to convince ourselves, because it's not about that, it's about trying to clear the obstacles that are in our way for seeing that the world is coming from us and not us. Because really, quite frankly, the only reason we're not seeing it that way is because we have obstacles to that. And we try to clear it away by systematically improving our karma. And a lot of it through this tool of meditation. Actually, being in the service industry, every day you've got an opportunity to do that in a physical way.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe you're being paid to do your job, but still you can maximize on this opportunity
exactly
afforded
what I'm
you.
doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every day is like the lesson today for me was, like I said, love everything and everyone, and that's exactly what I tried to do. So each day is something different. But
And it's not easy, right,
and it's
Todd?
not easy.
Like some days
no,
the
but
tests
you know what?
come up.
The more I do it, the easier it becomes.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like things are just starting to flow more now.
That's what we like to call the upward spiral,
Yeah.
and that's what we're really, really encouraging.
That's cool.
Yeah, good for you, Todd. So you can really use your meditation practice in that way. And you know what? Meditation isn't just the 5, 10, 15, 50 minutes on the cushion. It's what you do with your mind when you're off the cushion, right? So
Yeah,
that's
it's the rest of
really,
the day.
it is.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're training for. And that's what last week's class was all about. So you were already here, Todd. That's why you look so familiar. But it's really, really about that. And what we've been going through in this class too is a review of another ancient text by Master Shantideva about the 6 perfections. And these are 6 modes of behavior that was outlined originally for monks, but for anyone who wants to lead a happy spiritual life. And they are explained as if they were 6 activities, but they're really 6 states of mind. So we've been reviewing them in terms of how do they relate to having a good meditation, because we're saying that we have to get good at our meditation so that we can get proficient enough to be at this advanced enough level where we can see emptiness directly, right? So last week we started with the first perfection, which is kindness. And actually we started with the second perfection, right? And we were also talking about the preliminaries. So there's preliminaries to meditation. We're going to actually get to that towards the end of the class. But one of the preliminaries is that you tidy up your room and you set up a nice altar. And you maybe make some offerings. And we were correlating what, because you know what? You should never do anything if you don't understand why. Mm-hmm. That's the ritual thing I was talking about before, is that those schools that do it, they really do understand why. And that's why it works for them. Mm-hmm. But if a bunch of ritual implements and, things that are dogmatic are not done with the proper intention, they're not going to function for you. So there's nothing wrong with ritual when it's done with the proper motivation and intent. But by the same token, even someone who isn't apparently ritualistic could have a really deep practice, right? And that is their ritual. That is their way of honoring the spirit and their higher selves and all of that. So different as Lama Marut would say, different strokes for different folks. I think that comes from a TV show, but it's finding the flavor that works for you and then doing it with proper intent and motivation, and then it will take you there. So last week's meditation actually was about looking at the things that happened in our day, right? It was just using our day as fodder for our meditations, where we might not have seen the world as coming from us, where we might have doubted that it actually came from us, right? So we were looking at doubt in that way, and we were trying to look at like 3 things that happened in your day today, for example, Todd, and you're already doing it because you've already got this one teaching that came to you that you were trying to put into practice. So like that.
There's a lot of things, though. It's like now I'm the observer every day.
Yeah.
Looking at how I interact with people and yeah.
So here's one to try on. A thought process while you're in that is to try and figure out how this person, how they're behaving, could have come from you.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And that's what, but when we think, that possibly couldn't have come from me. That was the doubt we were looking at, right? Last time. So yeah. Emptiness. Jetsun Kappa. This picture up here is of Jetsun Kappa. He's the head of the lineage of the Dalai. He created the lineage of the Dalai Lama, actually, in the 1500s. And he's famous for saying, "Emptiness is my matchless protector." And that's true. Like, if we truly understood emptiness, if we truly understood that the world came from us and not at us, it would protect our minds. It would. It would really prevent us from saying, thinking, or doing anything that we know would result in something we didn't like in the future, right? Like, it would catch us right before we even did it. So, so this whole topic of emptiness, there is a famous sutra, a Buddhist sutra that really expounds on it, and it's called the Heart Sutra. And I did bring it today, so we'll play it at the end of class. In the book Jinpa series, it was actually homework assignment through the whole course of the 18 courses, and each course has like anywhere from 7 to 9 classes. There was a task for the original group of students that went through this at Diamond Mountain, that they were to memorize the Heart Sutra. And if you have time to stay, I'm going to play it at the end of the class, but another teacher and I eventually put the Sanskrit version of this to music, because our teacher said, put it to music, put it to song, and it'll be much easier to memorize. So, and even at that, with the way we composed it, it's about a 10-minute recitation, and it didn't come in 10 minutes. Like, it took a long time to memorize it and to learn it. But I have to say, it's something that is now retained, whereas to just try and memorize 10 minutes of something 10 minutes is a long time. Like, if you're just, right, doing a constant recitation. So, but the reason it was assigned is because apparently memorizing something, especially memorizing something in a foreign language, uses certain parts of your brain, certain parts of your mind that are the same parts that you need to improve meditative focus, stillness and meditative focus. So there's something about the act of reciting something over and over and over to a point where you don't have to look at it anymore, and it's internalized and it's ingrained, that utilizes the same energy, the same mental muscle, shall we say, as needed to get to this state. So that actually, the minute I heard that, I was totally inspired to memorize the Heart Sutra, because you know what? It's a blessing to your mind in many ways, and if it's helping to get you there, then why not, right? So I'll play our version for you later, and if any of you want it, you're welcome to have it. It's not as catchy as a top 10 pop song, because the Sanskrit lyrics were not written in a particular rhythm or meter, or so the music had to be wrapped around the words as opposed to the words fitting into music, right? But you can listen for yourselves. Okay. Oh, and around the Heart Sutra, last class, Master Kamalashila talked about the highest form of seeing was to not see, right? The eye of wisdom, to not see. And what it meant was to not see things as if they were coming at you. That's the highest form of seeing, to not see them that way. To see instead that they're coming from you. So the trick is to slow down in meditation how it is that we see. And it's really interesting because do we have a whiteboard? Yeah. And let me just show you something that was
Do you want like this or a big
no, that's good. And maybe just a little pen and got a lot of big numbers on here. Different class. Okay.
What a blue one.
Sure.
These are okay to write on it with, right?
Yeah, as long as it says dry erase and not permanent.
Dry erase. I know. I'm like, here, use
We
this.
have done that before. Okay, so the trick is to slow down the mind, because the mind automatically wants to label things. You ever noticed? Like we see something and before we even know it, we've called it something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they do say that if you haven't conceived of it, you can't see it. There is that. But, okay, so if I draw that, you see one thing, right? Like you might interpret it in many different ways, but you see one thing, okay? And then if I draw, so I drew a square, and now I'm going to draw, it's supposed to be a circle or an oval. It's now a cup, right? But you didn't know when I drew the square that I was going to draw a cup. So your mind was busy piecing together. And I don't know what you thought when I drew that, but I know the first time I looked at it, I thought, that looks like a shepherd's pie or something. Or
a cake.
A cake, yeah, exactly. But then, you know, when you see it in perspective, then it's something else. So, but anyways, and I've labeled it already for you as a cup. Maybe you didn't see it as a cup. Maybe you saw it as...
It's a Mr. Potato Head.
There you go, yeah, with the ear. But like that, your mind is constantly taking data and ascribing a label to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what we're doing all the time. We're doing it to objects. Like right now, wherever you are looking at this from, you can't actually see the side that I'm looking at. So for all you know, this side could be totally psychedelic, flashing disco ball lights. Like, you don't know, right? Or if I do this, is it still in my hand? Well, you don't know. Well, you might know for sure because you saw it, but you don't know for sure. You heard something, and your mind labels, oh, she dropped it. But you don't know for sure, right? You've taken in data, and you've filled in what you think the world is with a really small amount of information. And that's what we do all the time, especially with people. We take a very, 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 this cup drawing was actually out of this class. I'm going to show you something else from another class, but I'm going to set this one. So we take, so say that's you. And then here's someone that you interact with. So two bubbles touch, and it's only this little bubble touch right there, right? It's the only place that you come in interaction with someone. And from this little bubble touch, you assume, you fill in, you label the entire bubble. But really, your actual data, your actual information is so small. And we fill it in with our own expectations, our own past seeds, our own, all of that. And then we label it so, and then it feels like it's our entire truth, when in fact it's completely made up, right? When you think about it. So what we're trying to do in meditation is slow down that whole process so much that we can catch ourselves doing it. Okay? And that is actually a very basic meditation on emptiness, because things are actually not what they appear to be. And that doesn't mean they don't function. This is a pen because I can write with it, and if you don't believe me, come here and I'll demonstrate on you, right? But if a dog came in here, no matter how hard we wanted them to, they would not be able to write with this, right? Because the karma to be a dog is the karma to not know this is a pen. The karma to be a dog is the karma to have this be a chew toy instead. But does that mean that the dog is wrong and we're right? No. It just means that they have different karma. And that also means that's the emptiness of this object. It's a pen to us because we have the karma to see it as a pen and to use it as a pen. But it certainly is a chew toy to a dog because they have the karma to see it that way and the karma to use it that way, and only that way. Right? We actually only have the karma to see it as a pen, even if we think, oh yeah, it could be a chew toy, but we think it's a pen that can be a chew toy, right? So, like that. Okay, we're going to do another meditation. So, go back to that. That was a really bad drawing. You wouldn't even know I'm in art, right? But let's go back to this drawing of...
No, you wouldn't.
That's why I'm a curator and not the artist. Okay, so go back to this, okay? The cup. And pretend that it's really gorgeous. Okay, so get it clearly, or your version of it, and then close your eyes and get settled into a comfortable position that you can hold for a few minutes. It won't be as long as the other one. So picture cup in your mind. See it just sitting there in front of you. Maybe it's your favorite cup. Get a very, very clear visual on this. Now think about the emptiness of that object, the emptiness of that cup. Now think about when you see this cup in your world, when you interact with it, how are you seeing it wrongly or incorrectly? Reach out and touch the cup and drink from it. So it must be out there in some way, right? But now think about why that's not true, logically. Why the cup isn't really there. if you come to some aha realization about why the cup is not really there, fix on that now with your mind. Hold on to that moment, that realization. Okay, you can open your eyes. What that meditation is indicating is three kinds of vision that Jinpa explains, actually, about what we're trying to get to in meditation. And so the first layer, the first kind of vision, is just simply the indication. The physical shape, color, the object, and that's the first type of vision that comes to us, and they call it the vision that comes from indication. The second is the vision which comes from seeking, and that's the meditation we did where we're trying to analyze, is it a cup out there? Like, is it a cup and only a cup? Or is it a cup to me because I have the karma to see it as a cup? That's kind of oversimplifying it, but that is the analysis that we're doing in that meditation. Like, is it out there? And when you were prompted to see, like, how is it that you see it incorrectly? How we see it incorrectly is that we assume it's out there, that cup in the cupboard will always be that cup in the cupboard because it's out there. It's not because you have the karma for the cup to be there. And then you have to logic it out that actually it is the reverse, where that cup couldn't possibly even be there for you if you didn't have the karma for it. And that's a little bit trickier, but that's where we're going with this. So the third vision is the one that comes from that analysis. So the first one is just the indications, shape, color, form. The second one is where you do seeking, where you try to question, how does it exist? Does it exist this way or does it exist that way? And then the third one is where the vision that comes from the analysis. So once you get to the, it couldn't possibly be a cup out there, that's the aha moment, you hold on to that. Okay, so those are the three stages of vision. And then there's a Saramay. Saramay is one of the monasteries in India. They say that there's three qualities for getting to vision, and they say that you have to already be in a state of deep stillness, and that you then focus. So on that platform of stillness, then you focus the laser-like beam of your mind, and then when you get to that aha moment, and you've got this sort of fluidity and relaxed, they say bliss happens just from that meditative practice. You get to this extraordinary state of that bliss, and that only happens when you're in that highest vision, that extraordinary vision based upon a level of stillness, which is called shamatha. So those are the three qualities also. The other thing about this lineage, other than the logic, is that we like our lists. So that's where we're often called the list lineage. And then they kind of revisit the preliminaries again. So remember, it was like the cleaning the space, setting up offerings. They say that doing the preliminaries is yet again one more opportunity to start to eliminate your seeds for doubt. Because really, and back to the ritual again, like we have water bowls up there. That's about as far as our ritual goes, but we do it with an understanding that we're offering up to energies and ideas that I can't actually prove to you in this moment exist, but they function for me. My teachers function for me. I wouldn't be saying anything to you right now if they hadn't actually downloaded their wisdom to me. So for me, that's a very real representation of my gratitude. That's actually one way to look at it. It's not just objects. I mean, if it were, then I shouldn't be doing it at all. And in fact, I didn't do that. Zoe did that one. But I've taught her how to do it. So. But yeah, like when we do things like, and the Tibetans taught us about putting offering bowls on an altar and filling them with water, because water is, there's a huge river that runs through Tibet, so water was accessible to anyone, regardless of your station or your financial status or anything, and everyone could offer water. So it really it was that equanimity thing again, right? It really took out any chance for prejudice or bias or inequality, and excuse, because everybody could get water. So it's not like you couldn't do your water bowls because you had no water, right? So like that, we learn to do things not because my teacher told me or my mother told me or my grandfather told me to put water up a certain way. It's because I understand what that represents. And that, by the way, is a whole other teaching, which I'm happy to share with you outside of this, because we've got a lot more to cover and we've got 3 more meds to do. But if you're curious, come ask me later and I'll explain that to you. But the purposes of this class is they say that the preliminaries are directly correlated to the level of stillness and clarity of meditation you can get to if you do the preliminaries with an understanding of what they're intended to be for you. And that whole cleaning the space is a direct analogy to cleaning our morality. Ever try to meditate with a guilty conscience, or with a mind that's totally inflamed in anger or jealousy? Or no, you're going to be focusing on that thing and not the object of your meditation, right? So like that. And the offerings are about basically saying, you know what, I might not be able to prove that the world comes from me and not at me, but I really, really, really want to believe that. And so I'm going to put it to the test, And I do truly have gratitude for the wisdom my teachers have bestowed upon me. And for that, I am truly grateful. And it has made a difference in my life. So yeah, I am going to offer up to them and to that. I want to be like them. I want to be a being who can help thousands of others with a word, like it would be just so cool. So like that. And then you make your offerings out of a true devotion, not just because someone told you to do it, or not just because you think, oh, Todd's going to be so impressed when he walks in and sees this beautiful altar done all up like that. It's like wrong reason for doing it, But these preliminaries are completely correlated to things that can help clear your mind. So again, when you know that, then it's another motivation for doing the preliminaries and doing them sweetly. I think it's clever. It's clever of our teachers to come up with these different methods, right? So the next preliminary in the steps to this is preparing for meditation. This is what we're talking about. And we're talking about classic preliminaries, which are taught actually in a philosophy class, in one of the Tuesday classes, which would be course 2. The third one is called refuge, and this is where you go for you've already cleaned your space, you've set up your altar, you've sat down, and you take refuge. You take refuge classically as a Buddhist. You take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And as you will learn if you come to any of the philosophy classes, we're not taking refuge in the nominal Buddha, which is the statues or the prince who lived 2,500 years ago. That's the nominal one. We are taking refuge in the Buddha jewel, which is the emptiness of the Buddha. It's the pure potential that enabled the person who was born, Prince Gautama, to become Lord Buddha. We take refuge in the Dharma jewel. Dharma is the scriptures, the teachings, all of the beautiful stories that we're hearing, the practices that we're taught. But the Dharma jewel is actually seeing emptiness directly. So if you haven't seen it directly yet, then it's that really dedicated motivation to understanding it well. And that comes with study. That comes with doing meditation practices like these. And that's, aspiring towards the Dharma jewel. And then the Sangha jewel. Sangha is a gathering of like-minded practitioners to study the Dharma, or they say a gathering of monks or nuns. That's your nominal Sangha. But the Sangha jewel is a group of people who have seen emptiness directly, and that's what we aspire to be too. So that's what we normally take refuge in, and those can be a meditation all into itself. But here's a really cool one to do. Are we going to do this? Oh, we're kind of going to do this. Okay, this is going to be your third meditation. But this is a really cool meditation to do actually just when you wake up in the morning. You know those moments just before, and this is particularly good if you can wake up without an alarm clock. Like if you're not being yanked out of sleep, like if you naturally wake up and you know you've got at least 5 minutes to just savor and not like speak to anyone or do anything or even open your eyes. You just get to enjoy your bed, Well, in those moments, if you do this particular contemplation, it's a really, really useful refuge. It's called Result Refuge. And this is where you are lying in bed and you just visualize yourself as absolutely perfect. As that being who has no more mental afflictions, no more doubt, no more physical, emotional, or mental pain, and is just exquisitely gorgeous inside and out, you are that. And you're just wallowing and rolling in that in your mind, right, while you're in bed. And you see it. You say, well, what would you look like? What would you look like if you had no doubt? What would you look like if you were blissed out all the time? What would you look like if you could help every single person who needed it? Like, what would you look like, right? And you just kind of fantasize about it for a couple of minutes. It's a nice way to wake up. That's called taking the result as the path, taking refuge in the result. And it does plant extraordinary seeds. So we are going to do one more meditation, okay? I think I missed one, actually. Oh no, I think I was going to get you to listen to the Heart Sutra as a contemplation, so that'll be the last one. But okay, so get comfy. Oh, there is one. Okay, I'm going to sneak one in right now. Sorry. So we've done, we did the first one, right, where you're just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, we did the first one where we were watching our breath as the object, right? And then we just did the one right now about the cup. Is it a cup from its own side, right? Okay. So now, this is a little bonus round, okay? This is actually not directly from the book Jinpa, but Lama Mert came into town. He was just in town earlier this year. But he came into town that year teaching the Yoga Sutras. And he gave this gorgeous meditation from chapter 1 of the Yoga Sutra. So I'm going to relay that to you now. So just get comfortable. Calm your breath. Think about a mental affliction that you had today. A mental affliction is any thought that disturbs the peace of your mind. So pick one that happened today. And then imagine that there's this beautiful waterfall, and you're standing under this waterfall, and this waterfall is just washing that mental affliction out of you. Just feel that affliction wash away like a waterfall. Now pick another one. Maybe it was the second thing that happened in your day. And feel that wash away. And then keep going. Any mental affliction you had today. And if you didn't have any today, go back to last night. Or the day before. Whatever it was, just feel it wash away in this waterfall. That's just clearing away all your mental afflictions. Okay, you can open your eyes. That was just a little bonus contemplation, but that's also a nice one to do at any point where, especially if you've had a particularly challenging moment, just like give yourself go to the washroom or go to a room that you can just sit quietly for yourself for a couple of minutes. Pull up that interaction or that mindset that just happened and feel like it's just being washed right out of you. Just visually see it washing, just see yourself being clear of it, and then go back to work, Yeah. Okay, so here's the actual meditation so if you need to stretch your legs or whatever, give yourself a shake, do so, and then become comfortable again. Okay, so close your eyes. Bring your mind to focus on your breath. Let everything else fall away. Now take yourself to some other place, a very beautiful, special, perfect place, an ideal sort of place for you to meditate. Take yourself there, right now. See it clearly. You are going to bring your precious teacher to this special place, your Lama, your perfect holy guru. If you don't already have one in your life right now, then visualize the most perfect being you can think of and label them that. If you do have a teacher and you're not sure if they're your perfect guru yet, see them, but see them as perfected. And if you have a Lama, then bring them in. So pick one of those. But see them in your beautiful, perfect meditation space, in their most ideal, breathtaking form that you can imagine. Now think about how little you know and how you keep suffering and suffering over and over, making the same mistakes, hurting yourself, hurting others. But this being in front of you can help. Excuse me. They have reached the goal. They know how to go on the path, and they desperately want to show you. So in your heart, surrender to them. Just ask them in your heart, please guide me. Please show me what to do. I know nothing, and you know everything. Please show me. And of course, they're so happy that you've asked. And they agree. Okay, you can open your eyes. That's actually a really visually beautiful one that you can do. Like, you can really flesh out that place you go to, which is your perfect meditation spot. And if you have a teacher, then visualize them, and visualize them as like perfect and really the being that can help you. And if you don't know who your teacher is, then visualize a being that could be. And it's just a mental picture. But you know what? So is everything else. Everything you're seeing right now with your eyes open is a mental image. It's an image from your mind. And so I, sitting here in front of you, am a mental image. But it's no different than that mental image you had when you were closing your eyes and imagining a perfect teacher and your perfect place. And actually, that's the connection that we are trying to see clearly. And to not have a disconnect between the thing that seems so fixed outside of us and that mental image that we can conjure up when our eyes are closed. Seems more real to call it a mental image when our eyes are closed, right? Because it's a mental image sounds like something you think up, but actually, as solid as and yummy as that looks, it is no less or no more real, because it too is a mental image. What's the proof of that? It's not a yummy, delicious thing to every being that could walk into this room. Not from its own side. Right? In fact, that would probably be poisonous to my cat. So, it's, but it's going to be bliss for us in just a minute. So that's an interesting one to take off the mat and use it even as a morning contemplation, or actually if you've had an overly stressful day and you're really tired, that's also a nice contemplation to do at the end of your day. Some of my teachers call it the couch potato meditation, where you're just beat, can't do anything, and instead of turning on the TV, do a contemplation like that, and you will feel refreshed and rested. So that's it for the official download of this class. But last class we talked about the Heart Sutra, and I mentioned it again, and our teachers did talk about why memorization is useful. And it doesn't have to be memorization in another language necessarily, although that extra thing is what was encouraged in the book Jinpas. But there's a lot of things that, like poetry by Hafez, for example, which Didi loves, to find a favorite one that speaks to you and to memorize that to a point where you really remembered it and understood the words, that would be the same type of thing. But the Heart Sutra in the Buddhist practice, I know, were you asking me last week about whether there's like a Bible in Buddhism? Yeah. So there isn't a single book, but there are many sutras and things that make up the canon, and this is one of the big ones. Most of the big ones are all about emptiness, like the Diamond Cutter Sutra and the, there's many of them, but the Heart Sutra is what I call our go-to text. And the Book Jinpa course we had before this, Book Jinpa 2, I interspersed with music every single class, so we've decided we should put music back into this one. So I will play this for you. And you know what? You can get up and just move to it, or you can sit in contemplation and just let the music wash over you too. Yeah, let's see if we can get the... So if any of you have been to the ACI classes on Tuesday, John Buchanan teaches it right now. He's teaching the Bodhisattva Vow course, and he is playing the guitar in this and came up with the riff that became the bass for this, and then between us we came up with the tune, and this is in Sanskrit.
Do you know what I want to select? Which one?
Actually, you're good. Is it CD? It's on CD.
Is that right?
And the volume, I think you can probably go up to about the middle. Yeah, let's try that. Yeah, there we go. So this is in Sanskrit. I'm singing
gosh.
very pretty.
Yeah.
So that took about 2 years to memorize.
Yes.
But it went a lot faster once it was to music. So that was assigned over the whole, as I say, 18 courses, right? So we're only in class 3. But, and it's not a requirement of the drop-in class, but if anyone wants to try it, there's lots of things that can be memorized. Jitsun Kappa's Source of All My Good is a nice one. The Heart Sutra in English is a nice one. There's all sorts of, there's lojongs, which are, they call them sometimes mind training meditations, although they're they're not the literal, but the meaning is really training a good heart. And they're often very pithy and easy to, but they're not 10 minutes long, you know? But there's lots. And so memorization isn't something that we're really encouraged in the West to do, really. But it's a useful tool to just start to exercise some of those aspects of our mind that is useful for stillness. So that's all. Okay, I think we need to share these. So if anyone has any questions,